welcome back to the Global Gaming Woman Fair Game podcast, recorded here at the Light and Wonder podcast studio. I'm one of your co-hosts, Anika Howard, and I'm joined here today with my fellow co-hosts, Kate White and Lauren O'Brien.
Whoop. Hi.
So, welcome, ladies. How are you doing?
Good.
Well, today we're going to be focusing on the global gaming women. We have over 7,500 active members, and almost 30% of those members are international. And when we think about just the impact that women are making, from Denise Coates, she's the mastermind behind and co-CEO of Bet365, Ruth Parasol, one of the founding partners of Party Gaming, kind of was launched Party Poker in 2001. Women are really leading in a big way and making impact in the global stage. And in recent years, Global Gaming Women, we've really leaned into this international audience and really connecting with our members kind of from around the world. And I know, Lauren, we were talking a little bit about kind of the COVID being the genesis of that, right?
Yeah, I think the turning point for us in mentorship at the time was COVID, because we had the opportunity to take our events that were reaching a ton of women, but we took them international by going online, right?
Yeah.
So we got on Zoom, we did our virtual events, and we started seeing the reach that we had just by doing that.
And frankly, the outreach from them is what really got us going, because it wasn't us just reaching out. They were reaching back and saying, I want this. Like, give me more of this, right?
Yeah. Especially lean-in circles, right? Like they really wanted that power of the lean-in circle. And so expanding globally really went from doing the events virtually and then bringing it into lean-in circles.
Now, and I think you were talking about this earlier. I remember the first lean-in circle where we reached out internationally, and I had women in my virtual breakout section from South Africa, from Australia, from Malta. So it was really, really nice, and they were all engaged and all in different time zones, and some in the middle of the night, but they were showing up and being present and really wanted to be part of the conversation.
And some of these women we had people calling from India, like, I'll go 3 time zones away if you can just get me a group of women that I can talk to.
Yeah, amazing that they didn't care what time it was. They were in the middle of the night dialing in.
Yeah. It just talks about how much the need exists internationally. I know here, especially in Nevada, right? We have a ton of great women and a network here, but in these smaller areas where they have smaller companies or maybe just a manufacturer or things like that, I know Australia, New Zealand, they have really big hubs that are getting bigger. And I think these women just, they don't have the same sort of access that we have. And if we can give just a little bit of that, that's what we're talking about. So.
And I agree. I think I love that after COVID, it extended to being able to do events in person. I know I've personally had the opportunity to go to Global Gaming Women events at ICE in London and SBC in Lisbon, most recently, again, in ICE in Barcelona. And it's great to just see all of these women coming together and being able to meet people in person. So I think, COVID definitely helped bring a lot of that to fruition, but I just love the momentum that it's driven to have us continue that and to now have a very active international committee that's really focusing on programmatically making a difference. So that's good. And so one of the things that we want to talk about today is just really that, in addition to all the things we're talking about, it's just an exciting time in the gaming industry. And especially now, we've talked about this, but not just reaching out to women globally, but actually being able to have a career that has a global impact and footprint. It's becoming a lot easier. So you can connect with companies, you can, and technology has really broken down a lot of the barriers that have made international collaboration challenging in the past. And we saw that in COVID, and it's really extended now with so many different things. And so, Kate, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this too, because we're kind of the tech girlies. But what are some of the things?
She means nerds.
Nerds, I love it.
Yeah.
But what are some of the things that you've seen that have made from a technology kind of forefront that's made it easier for this?
This is a great question. And I think at G2E, I spoke to this a couple of years ago, but honestly, the amount that you can do from one place, but have it be utilized across internationally is phenomenal. I mean, 10 years ago, that didn't exist, right? Everybody kind of had to have their own localized way they did business. Now you see so many more global positions, like global director of this or corporate director of that, where they can kind of really manage the hub of activities in one place, which has totally changed the game for how even you do departments. What's my department? Well, I'm not just in Vegas now. I manage people in, every single country, 5 different countries. I see this a lot from our new Lean In members, like I am a manager, but I have to get up at 5 a.m. to take a call because my employees are in London or whatever. I think it's just completely changed the game, and it's brought, frankly, technology's brought more personality. That's what I love about the international space, right? Is talk about different kinds of cultures coming together and, getting to know each other. That's why those breakfasts in Lisbon and stuff are so much fun, right? Because you just get way different types of people in a space, and I think it's way more collaborative, frankly.
No, I mean, I think, and really speaking of collaboration, I mean, all kind of collaboration tools really help. I know I live on WhatsApp, especially on those things too, and I think, we've kind of set the record, but I have a WhatsApp group that's like almost 130 people, which is insane.
Oh, that is definitely right.
I didn't even know it could go.
My HOA group's only like 90 or whatever.
I didn't think it could go that much, but there are women from all across the world, and really being able to connect and share information. And so when we're in different places and when we're in conferences, and they're all in gaming, and so it's really amazing to do that. And you look at Slack and all these other tools that you have, from social media and networking platforms, and so it's really nice to be able to do that. But I think my favorite is now a lot of the translation tools. And so, some are just as benign as Google Translate, but, I actually bought these headphones that actually you listen and it translates, for you.
I have been waiting for somebody to get these to tell me if they work.
Yes,
They do.
They do work, and I've used them in Paris. I got them when I went to the Olympics because I was like, oh, I want to be able to kind of do that, and it was good because you met so many different people, and I thought it was going to be a difficult thing, but it was very, very easy to be able to do that. And I got different pairs, and there's one pair where you give them one and you give them one, you put the language in and it just translates for you in their ear.
Oh, that's amazing.
And
Shut the front door.
Yeah,
this is going to change global travel.
It
You know
really
what I'm
is.
talking about?
Yeah, because it takes that intimidation factor away. Like, you can actually walk up to somebody and introduce yourself and
Have a
not
conversation.
feel...
Or the scariest thing, like going to a random country and trying to order food. It's like, oh no.
Yeah,
Like they
can't
just
do
look
that.
at you like,
what am I going to end up eating here?
you're going to get the trash from yesterday, right? Like, this is awesome. And the fact that you try all these things is amazing. And I love that.
Yeah. No, so it's really good. And so I'm excited to introduce and bring a lady that I've met. I actually met at a conference, and she's been just has an outside impact on the industry, Paris Smith. And so I'm very looking forward to the conversation with her. She's strong, organized, pragmatic, and I thought it was perfect for this episode because she is truly a global gaming woman. She's going to join us from Curacao, and she is currently one of the co-founders of Defy the Odds. It's a startup launch pad dedicated to driving innovation in the gaming sector and supporting this new generation of underrepresented founders and with resources, mentorships, access to capital, and really just giving them a leg up to help them succeed. So I'm really excited to get a chance to welcome her to the Global Gaming Fair Game podcast and hear her story.
Can't wait.
Hello, Paris, and welcome to the Fair Game podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you. And so I want to get started. I always love to hear people's origin story. So can you start with kind of where you grew up and how some of those experiences shaped you?
Yeah. So I'm from a very, very small town in North Dakota, literally population 500. All I did growing up was play basketball, like that overachiever. And just, growing up in that environment, you become humble and you remain humble. So my big thing is always never forget where you come from. And I'm so grateful for all the people that were part of my life there. It was, small town. I was in all the sports. When I was little, I was just absolutely obsessed with basketball. And, in all the other towns, you started playing basketball at grade 7. And, I wanted to play. And my dad advocated for me and changed all the rules. and I was able to play at a very early age. So, having that small town mentality, those, kind of small town, just, you work hard, you care for people, just that whole picture. I think that really shaped me for who I am today.
So it's definitely clear that your parents' example had a really strong influence on the women that you've become today. But also, you've had lots of other people throughout your life that have been advocates for you and allies and sponsors. Can you talk about the impact that that has had as well?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been in sports betting. Obviously, from the last 30 years ago, it was predominantly men. I started out as a clerk taking bets. And as I kept working hard, like the gentleman that I worked for, he supported me so much. I would go into meetings with government officials and they'd be like, where's Billy? I'm like, he's not here. He doesn't understand the telecommunications. Oh, okay. And then they kind of disregard me. And then I go back to the office. Yeah, they didn't really listen. What? He'd pick up the phone, yell at them, and he's like, no, that's my girl. She went there. She's trying to help you. And then he'd send me back the next day. And he's like, yeah, here's, the guy would be like, oh, hi. And I'm like, yeah, well, I just, this is what I'm trying to do. No, no, no. Billy told me. And he'd be there with other people and I'd be able to share the information that I had to actually help the government. But, he just was always there to support me. Nobody could disrespect anybody on the phone.
Yeah.
He was there to support. So then I moved to Pinnacle and they basically hired me because of whatever they heard of my reputation. And they said, we want somebody who doesn't bet, who doesn't have an ego, who can manage a bunch of egos,
Yeah.
and really steer the ship, and who's super strong and knows the industry. So I had full support from the Pinnacle owners. And then when they sold Pinnacle, I worked for Magnus, and he also supported me heavily. So I never had that, nobody's listening to me. Internally, you have, internally meaning within the organization, I had to kind of fight for my position. But as far as the people I worked for, I always had the full respect and support from them. So I felt very fortunate. I didn't quite understand the women angle that everybody talked about.
Yep. And so and I want to touch on that as well, but I wanted to lean in a little bit into your experience at CEO because you were a long-standing CEO for 17 years. And so can you talk about being a woman leader and some of the lessons and things that you've kind of learned and experienced maybe as we're listening, as our viewers are listening or watching to get a sense of, what are things that you feel contributed to your success?
Yeah. I think always being authentic and genuine. I'm just, for whatever reason, just a strong character. Again, probably from my upbringing. But one time I heard somebody refer to me as she has balls of steel. And I was like, is that a compliment? I think I'll take it as a compliment. But so just always being my authentic self. And instead of thinking, flying to Asia and they're like, where's the Pinnacle CEO? I'm like, it's me. They were like, crap. And then I would talk, hear them out, give them feedback. And, once you can show who you are, what you know, and that you're capable and competent, it just falls together. I had the luxury, of course, of having a strong brand behind me, but also I helped make that brand strong by the person that I am and showing people this is who I am, this is who we are. So, it was always a challenge, especially, I have to say, especially in the Asian market, but that was my favorite place to work because it was a challenge and I loved getting over the hump and having them, now if I go to Asia, if I talk to any of my previous people that I dealt with, they treat me like a queen. So it was very challenging. I think the biggest challenge is being a single mom and traveling the world. That's the challenge, but I made that happen as well.
No, and so one of the things we were talking about earlier in this episode is that 30% of the global gaming women membership are international, and there are so many more opportunities now for women to play in this space. And so, can you talk about any advice that you can share on how to navigate and embrace global opportunities, and what are some of the things that women should consider as they're thinking about pursuing a, I guess, a career that has more of a global footprint?
Mhm. There's definitely benefits to being a woman leader, that which are, your ability to understand a room, read a room, and effectively engage the room. And then multitasking, of course, is at the top of that. But taking what you know and what you've learned in one market, I think people underestimate how you can actually reapply that to another market. There is a world where localization is huge, especially from a marketing perspective and a market entry perspective. But localization is part of the puzzle. That experience, that's the other part. So if you take it upon yourself to understand a culture, understand a market, you have a lot more flexibility and capability to go into other markets and expand yourself. I feel like now localization has been very, very focused. However, at one point it was North America and rest of world. And, you put up something on your website and everybody would come from all over the world. I don't know why or how, but they did. Now it's not, with licensing regulation, of course, it's very, very different. But there are still a lot of opportunities. And I think, if women can just kind of hone in on the skill set and the experience that they have, if you really understand that, you can reapply it to other jurisdictions and other regions of the world.
No, and so I'm going to go back to something you said earlier. You had said that, in, initially you didn't kind of get kind of the woman thing. And so let's kind of go back 5 years, International Women's Day 2020. You mentioned that you had a moment of realization. What prompted that?
Yeah, it was, first I was like, oh, wow, nobody's ever asked me to speak for International Women's Day. So I was quite excited. And then they said, have you ever felt like you did not receive something? And I was like, no. And then I thought about it. And realistically, the disparity between what I earned, I would work with, at my first job, I worked with 3 people. I went to the bank and got a loan for a house. The other 2 guys had $1 million houses on the beach. I never even thought about it. And then, it was only literally in that moment of reflection that it actually hit me, because I don't care what other people have, but there is a reality. And I think that's where, when I moved into Pinnacle, I was so grateful. Like, I never asked for anything. Everything that I received, they offered to me because they felt like I deserved it. So, that was my moment that I just thought, wow. And, I think having the support, that was more important to me than that financial component of it.
Yeah, and so now, I mean, I want to kind of come full circle. So you talked about kind of your origin story, you talked about your moment of realization. But when you think about today where you are, what is your why, and what are the things that you're most passionate about?
I keep making reference to when I started 30 years ago, the gaming industry was a startup. And everybody was just feeling it out, trying to figure it out. And I think having the ability to help people like I used to do, that was, when it was new and exciting and uncharted territory, that's when it was fun. And I think working with startups brings me that same feeling, and helping people elevate themselves, giving them the connections, the understanding, the feedback. I'm an angel investor, sometimes the support, and the confidence. I love that is what's driving me right now. I'm involved with Zero Labs, with Defy the Odds, which we'll probably get into later. But helping people help others, it's everything. And the reality is, because of all of these things that have happened, the ecosystem around the startup world is becoming so strong, and we're unintentionally formalizing it. We're literally helping the future of gaming through all the different investor groups and, again, Defy the Odds, Zero Labs, all these groups that are reaching out and supporting the startups. I think it's really setting the tone for the future.
And so when you think about the future and you think about where, when you look at international and you also look at kind of the online and the expansion of gaming, what are the things that you think are the biggest opportunities for women looking to expand their career, or just people in general looking to expand their career? How do you see us that growing, and what are some advice that you can provide?
I think, women just need to lean into their passion. There's so many women that are passionate about sports. They're passionate about, you see the compliance regulatory side of things. They're predominantly women for whatever reason. There's so many areas that they are experts in. They just have to take that leap of faith and apply what they've given and supported other companies with to their own ideas. And I think we're seeing so many phenomenal ideas around not only women in gaming, but just general products for the industry, within compliance and AI, all sorts of areas. And it's really just to take the leap of faith and utilize your expertise to start creating something.
No, I mean, thank you for that. And I'm going to kind of close out with one final question. And so as you're looking at your career and the pivot that you've made in terms of Defy the Odds, what are the things that, if you could go back and give advice to your younger self on, like, here are the things that, you should, young Paris should think of, should be focused on?
Wow. I always like to say I'd never change anything, but the reality is I would have. They always make jokes, it's lonely at the top. And I am such a people person. I probably delved too deep and went too close, and getting people's ideas, getting people's buy-in was always my mentality. But the reality is I should have been a bit more aware that some people have agendas and taken some of that interesting advice, from the tone in which it came from. But that's probably the biggest thing, but there's so many things that you learn along the journey. And it kind of goes back to what I'm loving right now, which is taking all the mistakes. Like, I own it. I could have done a million things better, a million things different. But taking that and applying that experience to somebody who's building an organization and helping them, navigate and miss some of those mistakes.
And then kind of closing out, I mean, it feels like, you started with people advocating and being allies and leaning into you. And it feels like, coming full circle to being able to now be that person for others. So.
Yeah. For sure. And, what I'm really loving and what I'm experiencing is the whole, the support from women in gaming. I think it's really becoming more genuine and authentic. Women are generally known as not really wanting each other to succeed, but within this organization of the CEOs and the global gaming women, I think it's really changing shape, and people are truly providing support and building confidence within each other to create a lot of positive change in the industry.
No, I absolutely agree. So I want to thank you so much for your time. And also, I want to see if you would humor me. We have this section called rapid fire questions. We play it with the host, but I would also love to do that with you as well, if you don't mind.
Okay.
No, I promise it's going to be fun. And so I have 3 questions to try to really center them around travel and international. So my first question is, how many continents have you visited? 5. Okay, so what is remaining for you? I know for me it's Antarctica.
Yeah, Antarctica and Oceania.
Yeah.
Those are, yeah.
Great, thank you. Next one is, what's the most transformative travel experience you've had?
So this is going deep that I can share. It's on that borderline, but I'll give you something. I had the luxury of taking away an exclusivity from somebody in Asia, and I was blacklisted from the country. So I was detained. That was my most, and it would also fall under traumatic experience. So that was some of the joys of being a woman in the industry and
Wow.
also the message.
Wow. Wow. That had to be a little bit scary.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'll close off with an easy one. Like, what is your favorite travel hack? Or do you have a favorite travel hack?
Sleep. I can
Sleep.
sleep on the plane. I'm the biggest, best sleeper ever. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, are we there yet? And we haven't taken off. Like I'm a sleeper. And that's, and then with that, when I land, I, usually just go to the gym, kind of try to set my clock and start my travels. I used to travel very intense when I go to Asia because I wanted to get home to my daughter. So I'd take a 3-week trip and put it into 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that was long hours.
Well, Paris, thank you so, so much for sharing your journey and your experience and a little bit about kind of your origins. I appreciate your time, and it's been a pleasure connecting with you, and hopefully to see you in real life soon.
Yes, we definitely will. Thank you so very much. Like I said, I'm a big fan, and it's just so exciting to watch the evolution and watching people grow every day. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies, so it's time we talk about something a little sad but happy at the same
Yeah.
time. This episode here that you just listened to is Kate White's last episode with us as a host. She has finally decided to fully retire. She was kind of dabbling a little bit in it, but now it's full on, and I'm really excited for her to spend some time with her family and focus on herself for a little while.
Yeah, but is she ever really fully retired? I mean, she's going to be full
probably
on
not.
with her nonprofit and lots of other things
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So retired from gaming.
Yes.
So.
Yes, there you go. That's
Yes.
good. But I honestly don't think that we could have let her just go
Yeah.
without a special thank you, because it is, because of her, we are here today and we're all sitting at this table. So I think we just wanted to make sure we took some time to acknowledge her contributions, not only to the podcast, but to GGW. She's responsible for a large, massive initiative, not only through this podcast, but through governance and
And the website. And
website.
Yeah.
And she is the reason I am where I am today, because, we joined the same committee and she kind of took me under her wing. And so I really appreciate her. And so in her honor, we all have very big
Yes.
earrings on today.
We love
you
you,
can see it.
Kate.
It's blending a little
Yes,
bit.
This is for Kate.
Yeah. And you said yours have a special meaning. Of those earrings,
Yeah.
did Kate give you those?
So Kate gave me these during season 1. I didn't have earrings for an episode, and she said that's not allowed. So she put these on me, and she let me keep them. And so
Oh
I
my
have the ones
gosh.
she gave me in season 1 on today.
Aw.
Oh, Kate has meant so much to so many of us at GGW. Like, she was my membership chair when I was co-chair. She's also a big reason that I'm on the podcast. It's just, we love you so much, Kate. Like, what an inspiration and just what an impact. What a legacy.
We love you and we miss you. And we wish you all the best in everything that
Yes.
you do.
I'm so proud of you.
And she better keep listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 1 fan.
Yes.
Fair game fan. You all might have also heard that Kelly Hatch is no longer with the organization. And we love Kelly so much. She also just, wow, like what a foundational catalyst to the incredible growth of Global Gaming Women. She has made such a wonderfully positive impact on the organization as well as the podcast. And we just so deeply appreciate her contributions and miss her as well.
Yeah.
I even remember like a lot of the format that we have now was really her brainchild. We're
Yeah.
leaning into us actually putting ourselves out there. And that's something
Yeah.
that none of us really wanted to do. We really wanted to focus primarily on the guest.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of made the case that the guests are great and we love the guests and we always do that, but to lean into the stories and experiences that we have as well. And so that I think have to give her credit for pushing all of us a little bit outside of
yeah.
our comfort zone to do this. So
Talk
yeah.
about empowerment.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yes.
I think for me, Kelly played such a huge role in pushing us over the line to do this. Like Kate and I were teetering back and forth on, do we do this? Is this crazy? And Kelly always believed in us and just really wanted to see this come through. And she means so much to me. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we're taking the time to say thank you for the impact that she's had, not only on us personally, but for the organization too.
And
Okay.
I have to just share this actually, she really is one of the biggest reasons that I stayed in Vegas. I remember I applied to the W Leadership Development Conference and I didn't even know her yet. We hadn't met in person. And I reached out and I was like, hey, it says that I have to have 5+ years in the industry. Like I'm specifically focused on sports betting and iGaming. Passbow wasn't even overturned, like any flexibility. And I almost let that imposter moment hold me back from even applying. And she was like, no, definitely apply. I went, and that week in September of 2022 was really the reason that I decided to stay in Vegas long term. And it was because of, Kelly affirming me and lifting me up. So thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
great
miss,
testimony.
We miss Kelly and Kate, but we are also just so excited for their next chapters too.
Yeah, super excited to see what
Yes.
they do in their future, and I'm just happy for both of them, and I love them both.
Yeah. Yay.
Ditto.